Go.
Go.
Go. We made it. Hey, guys. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
We made it. We're
We
late.
did.
It's Joe's
That's my
fault.
fault. It's definitely Joe's fault. 100% Joe's fault.
100%. It's Joe's fault. Welcome. Man, you guys know about the Double Cup of Joe show. We haven't done that show in forever.
Forever.
It was so fun, though. We'd get together at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. That it was. 5 a.m.
Yeah, man.
in the morning.
Ugh. And that also was Joe's fault.
Yes, that unfortunately also was Joe's fault.
Which Joe? Wait, who's echoing?
Echo. Is that me?
Oh.
Joe was echoing for sure.
I don't hear any echoes.
I don't either, but I've muted the stream.
Oh. Oh, it was Zay. Okay. Aha. Zay the prankster over there. I was like, wait a second. I'm like looking at stuff over here and it's looking okay to me. Like, I don't know what's going. Hey. But that's all right. All right, cool. Well, welcome everybody to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is the show that is about you guys and your topics. If you have a topic you'd like us to do, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button. We are a little short on topics right now, and we'd be happy to have your topic. Yeah. Do Zay topic. We don't have a Zay topic in here, I don't think.
Zay, you should give us a topic so
Unless
that we can do Zay topic.
Yeah, we don't have a Zay topic. I'm looking right now.
Joe, they realized you performed mitosis in order to do this today.
Hey, you know what? I perform mitosis on the daily.
That's true.
Yeah.
Science checks out there.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
right.
make problems for you to fix.
Zay is good at causing problems.
That's a reading on what was said. Yep.
Yeah. So you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com and you can submit a topic there, or you can just submit it in the chat. If there's something you'd like us to talk about, we can talk about it here. And yeah, so like I remember you getting up for it. And I don't think either of us are really morning people either. It was an act of force.
Yep, we were forced against our will.
Against our will.
Yeah.
I mean, we agreed, but like
yeah, I don't know, there wasn't any firearms, but I think it was, when should we do this? And I said in the morning, and he's like, do you really want to do the morning? I said, yes, because if I say, we'll think about it, then it won't happen. So.
Yep. Well, and not only that, but it was kind of like I called you, we talked about it on the phone like on a Friday or something, and then we were like, yeah, let's start Monday.
Yep.
It was like, we're gonna start nothing like jumping right in, man. Like, here we go. But it was great. We had a lot of good times, and and then we started recording them in the evening, and that felt better.
Did we?
Yeah, we would stream every morning, and then we were like, well, let's do it so we just release a video in the morning instead of stream, and we'll stream the recording of the video, but we'll do it at night.
Oh, I guess so.
You don't remember that?
I thought we just recorded them all in the morning, just all at once. Don't tell anyone our secrets.
I don't know.
All right, it's been a long time, guys.
It was. It was like COVID back then.
Yeah, it was. Who remembers COVID? Not even a big important event.
Right? So many events have happened since then. It's crazy.
It got a little weird after COVID.
Got a little weird. Yeah. But it was still fun.
Weird, so. No, it definitely wasn't pre-COVID, because the only reason I was home.
No, you were still going to the office.
Yeah, it was. Huh.
Where's my
Yeah,
thing?
no, he's right. Sully's right. Wow.
Pre-COVID, man.
I don't even think that time frame existed. There was no time before COVID anymore.
Ah, well. You guys all know better than me, apparently. I thought it was during COVID. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway,
Wow.
here we are.
Yeah.
We're doing a stream together again. We loved it so much. It was like Ryan's going to be gone. We were like, hey, we should do this together. That'd be so great.
Getting the band back together.
Yeah, man. This is cool. This is two Joes being weird and stuff.
Being weird and
Yeah.
stuff.
So, for those of you who don't know Joe, Joe is awesome.
Joe is confirmed to be awesome. Whichever direction Joe is.
That one.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Telling you what. But yeah, so it's exciting. We're glad to be here. So again, if you guys have any topics, I got to do the legal. We're
It's legal.
got to do the legal.
Get the legal shirt on.
Yep, yeah. We are not professional therapists, counselors, or anything like that. We just want to help, and we can't offer you legal advice. We're gonna do the legal disclaimer about legal advice. We are not a substitute for legal advice. This is our legal disclaimer. Wait, the police are after you, cats.
Don't give them legal advice. We just said we can't. Plead the fifth. All
You
right,
know.
there we go.
Yep, exactly. Saule and Katz both put it. We're not professionals. The information we give is not a substitute for professional advice. We're just trying to give back and support you as you're supporting us. And Kat's take on that is welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is a stream where we talk about worries to help one another. We're not professionals or professional help, but we'll try to give helpful advice. So yeah, a lot of times if there's something going on that's really crazy and weird, it makes sense to talk to a professional. I think Joe was just talking to a professional just a little bit ago.
I was talking to a professional. I needed professional help.
Mm-hmm.
I got a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been helped.
Now you've been helped professionally.
Professionally. Yes, I had to get a professional prettier.
Pretty. Hey, it worked. Look at you. Look at you go. So, Joe, Joe's a teacher now. Joe is like 30. So he's older than me now.
I'm now officially older than Joe.
Yep.
That's how time works, guys.
It's great. Like I'm the youngest person at BSS again.
Yep. Retaining his spot.
Yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, it's crazy. Like Joe has had all these like he's a professional in a lot of ways. Tell you what, golf pro, like that was your first job, right? You were a golf pro. Yep. And then went from that to accounting, which is like a lot of people who go into accounting don't pass the CPA test. Joe like passed it without even breathing. Like I think he held his breath the whole time he took the test.
Yeah, that 4-hour test held my breath the entire time.
The whole
guys.
time. The whole time.
Don't recommend that. Don't recommend that.
But but he passed it, and then he was a CPA, and then was it after you were a CPA, you were a school administrator for a while, and now you're a teacher? Is that how that kind of went?
Kind of. It was like an administrative type assisting role, and they were like, hey, you're pretty good at this. What if you did it more? Because they had me teach part-time while I was already there.
Oh, okay.
What if you were a teacher? And I'm like, bet.
That's how they speak in the schools. Is that why my kids come to me and tell me? They say these words like bet.
And Are
and
they
based and cap and stuff.
okay? Cool. Well, okay, they're not young. They're not too young then,
Okay.
because now the TikTok language is getting weird.
Gat and skibbity.
No, 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 please no. Stop. Yeah, see, it's gotten so bad in the school system. This was my test.
Ah.
He's good.
Oh.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but
But
Joe's had all these professions and he's 30.
yeah,
Like professional level professions. Not like I've had lots of jobs, man. Like I worked at a car wash. I
nice.
worked at a
Professional
pizza
car washer.
place.
Professional pizza man.
Professional pizza man. Professional I did door-to-door sales.
Professional salesman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Professional musician.
Professional musician. Yeah, that's kind of what I do now. That's part of what I
All
do
by
now.
age 29.
Yep. Man, I'll tell you what. But these aren't like professional positions. Like these are jobs you can get. Like
Any job you work hard at, it's a professional job.
thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason you're my favorite.
Nice.
Don't
That's
tell
fast.
anyone. Don't tell
I
anyone in
won't,
the chat that you're my
I
favorite.
won't tell anyone. Obviously, this will not get out to anyone ever.
Yeah.
There's never going to be any kind of public recording of this interaction that people could re-reference later.
Perfect. Yes. So like you're professionally an engineer, but now a professional engineer. Because that's the title that takes a lot of work and time to earn. Yes, you bet it does. Oh,
But
but
not.
not a professional engineer. Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. I figured because you got a degree in engineering, right? And then you got a job in engineering?
Not P, just a P is an E. That makes
It's
sense. I
like
mean, because I was an accountant for a while, and then I became a certified public accountant.
mm-hmm.
So I would guess it's similar to that. Like your profession is engineering, but you're not like a super special licensed engineer or something. That's what it sounds like.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You know, it is pretty crazy. To be a professional at anything, it generally costs a lot of money.
Ah,
Have you noticed that?
yes, it sucks. Cost me a lot of money.
Yeah, right? I mean, and you know, being a professional musician is no different. Cuz like then you got to get like professional line gear.
Equipment. Yeah. Equipment. Oh,
And you're like sitting there thinking, "Okay, like I need some new gear, right?" Like I took a road trip yesterday.
oh, nice.
I even posted my like map in my server. I hadn't posted in my server in like a month. But then I put in there, "Hey, I'm going on a road trip," and then I put the map on there. It was cool, and I was like, I bet people can figure out where I'm going, even though, because it was, you know,
Mm,
there's a little
yeah.
place in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Whoa, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I
That's
left the state.
down by my. No, that's not. Fort Wayne is south of Coldwater.
Yes, yes. Which is, it's not. Well, actually, it's still probably 2 hours from you.
Yep.
It's
You
two
went
hours
straight
from
down.
me, and it's
You
2 hours
know.
from you. Yeah. But yeah, so like you go there, and it's like, okay, I need gear, and it's like you sit there, and you're like, man, I could get this entry level stuff, but it's not gonna do what I need it to as a professional, and so I need like
Yeah.
the professional gear, and then you end up spending a couple $1,000, and you're like, oh, well,
It hurt right in the wallet. He got me.
you
Got
got
me,
me.
officer, right in the wallet.
The salesman loved me. The salesman got like a great commission, but
Good. I'm glad the salesman gets the great commission.
yeah,
Good
it
for
was
him.
cool. So he says, I'm not currently planning on getting a PE because it comes with a lot of liability. And I've been told by a few people in the field it would be beneficial. You don't know? Okay. Hey.
I can't speak on that. This is completely irrelevant to our question, but I have background for you.
Do we have a question?
No, but it deals with professional liability.
Oh, yes.
As
Okay.
as a person who has professional degrees,
Mm-hmm.
getting your professional license is very, very valuable because yes, you can get sued, but getting like a million, actually, you'd probably need more as an engineer, but getting like millions of dollars in insurance liability as a professional is like $20 a month
Mm.
for like millions of dollars in coverage. So like if you make an extra $100 a month and it only costs you $20 a month, it'd still be worth it. But when you get the professional licensing, it's a lot more than $100 a month. I'm gonna assume. I don't know where it is with you, but usually when you get professionally licensed, it's like, here's your salary, and now what if we doubled it?
Uh-huh.
And so you can afford to spend a little bit of money on that insurance.
That's true. It is kind of crazy when you move from like apprentice or amateur or, whatever to professional. I did experience that when I was doing band instrument repair, and I went from being an apprentice to being a professional band instrument repair technician. And that salary more than doubled. I think I got like 150% increase.
Nice.
Yeah, it was wild. It was cool. And I didn't have any liability insurance to get either.
Nice.
It was cool.
Probably
But
don't need it. You're so good at your job. Didn't even need it.
well, the only person that was going to get hurt was me. Um, so that's all right.
There was people in jail for. Okay, fair enough.
Huh?
I'm reading Sully's. My fear is more about the life in prison because that's what the last engineer who signed off on the project. If people die,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm gonna guess this isn't our country, Joe. Because why would like? Yeah, no wonder.
Soleil's
Okay,
in the United States.
really?
Yeah. Would you get life in prison for that?
I can't imagine. Like that's just asking for people not to do professional things. Right? Like if you started throwing all your people who got professional degrees in jail when like there was an accident or something, like you're disincentivizing people to get higher level professionalization. Like why would you do that
Hmm.
as a government? But what do I know? I'm just a peon teacher.
Peon teacher.
Don't pee on your teachers, kids. Jokes.
Oh no. Don't give people ideas like that, man. I'll tell you what. Cats, you are professional cats.
Nice.
And you got a wrench next to your name. You throw a wrench in there. Do we all have
Yeah.
wrenches?
Yeah.
So far, like, oh, Monotherin, are you still here? I don't know if Monotherin's still here. And August, everybody else in the chat has had a wrench next to them. Oh, and then Zay.
Yeah, wrench.
Zay
Same.
is cooking with
Oh, let him cook. Let him
let
cook.
him cook. Hey, Monotherin, good to see you. It's good to see all you guys. Well, you know what? We do have a couple topics that we can start with. We can get this show rolling. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the topics again. And if you want, if you have something you'd like us to talk about, you can put it in the chat. You can go to don'tworrywednesday.com and submit it there. You can hit us up on Discord. There's all kinds of ways. Yep, if there's anything on your mind and you'd like us to chat about it, we'd love to. So,
Dang.
mostly blue, da ba dee da ba da.
Well, here, Joe, you should answer my question, and then I can be here for your response.
Really? Are you gonna weigh in on your own answer?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
We have a topic here from
August.
August. Welcome. We have a topic here from Joe Bohan.
Oh, okay. Let's hear what he has to say.
We want to jump into this topic. This will be fun. You know what? Right on.
Here,
Let's see.
I'll read
I
my
gotta
own question.
wait,
This will be
wait.
great.
I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Let me put it up on the screen. If you want to read
Okay,
it,
and
that's
then
cool. But
yeah, and then I'll read it.
let me get it up here. Hold on. Dang it.
And then it'll be just like I asked you the question,
Yeah,
which I mean, I kind of did.
you did.
But I mean, I posted it.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like asking you. I don't know how that works.
yeah. All right. So I'm gonna put up this topic, and then Joe will read it, and then Joe will answer it.
Nice.
That'd be great.
Go for Joe. Let's go.
All right, there you go. It's up on the screen now.
Okay, it's up on the screen. Question. The topic summary: how do you make time for all of the things that you do? So, how to make times for all the things that you need to do in life. For instance, I coach golf. I teach. I just got done with my brother's wedding, and then there's graduation and a host of other things that I need to do but keep putting off. So, how to make time for all that stuff?
All that shenaniganry.
Yeah, also sleep is important. I should probably do that at some point in there.
Sleep.
Yeah, I know. Ah, kids these days.
Kids these days and they're sleeping. I'll tell you what. No, this is a really good question, Joe. Thank you very much for the topic.
Yeah, anytime, Joe.
How do you make time for all the things that you need to do in life? I don't know. I'm figuring it out.
Okay.
Luckily,
Alright.
I got your phone number. When I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Nice. We'll leave you a message.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Next topic.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Wait, there's 2 cats. Or did the cats just change their picture?
I think it's a new profile picture.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I'm so lost now.
Happens from time to time. Yeah. So okay, so you coach golf, you teach. I know you also coach esports.
Mm-hmm.
Just got done with your brother's wedding. There's graduation. Wait, you're involved in graduation?
Well, I'm the teacher, so like all of our after school activities as teachers are like right now because there's the seniors graduate and then they're like, we're not at school anymore, but what if you hung out with us after school? And not hung out, but like did all the graduation type stuff. Like there's awards and there's all these ceremonies, and it's like, just take your diploma and run, dang it.
Mm.
I'm just kidding. I'm glad I'm glad there's these things for the kids. But sometimes I wonder, you just like take a piece of paper and go
Yeah,
home.
right.
Just-
You're done with us, we're done with you. Like
First, take your brother's wedding off the schedule because it's already completed. Poof, open time slot.
There you
Thanks.
go.
Yeah. Yes, I wrote it last week before, or 2 weeks ago before the wedding.
Oh.
But thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. And yes, congratulations to your brother.
Yes, he did it. He did it.
He did it. Hey, it's what it is. Marriage
It
is a
is what it
thing.
is.
We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. We got 2 Joes.
Topic. Different day.
We'll get very contrasting ideas on marriage.
Well, it's not his fault. He's only 29. He's not old enough to really understand the complexity.
The complexity, right? Yeah. So, it's interesting because I don't know. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll try and focus on stuff. As we're, to talk about the topic, how do you make time for all these things? How do you figure out scheduling? How do you do all that kind of stuff? And it kind of depends on what you have going on. If you have a job, where you're there, generally, oops, I just put the topic back up by accident. If you have a job where like you're basically scheduled to be there a lot, that is already set for you. And so then it comes down to the time you have outside of that and figuring out your priorities and doing all this kind of stuff. Now, I have worked out all kinds of schedules on paper and they look great. I've worked out, okay, I'm going to do this. I started for a while. I was like, I'm going to set appointments with myself. And so, like, all the time I have appointed times to do things. And so, like, because I'm pretty good at keeping appointments. And I'm like, maybe if I set appointments with myself, then I'll do better at keeping them. But man, a lot of times I feel like I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants and more stuff kind of just gets piled on, right? Like, stuff happens. I have kids. Kids have stuff come up. We're baseball season, whether it's basketball season, soccer season, band, concerts, all kinds of stuff to be at, school functions and stuff. And, we're running a business, we're opening another business. And it's like, what the heck, man? Like, stuff's going on and stuff gets crazy. So,
Ooh.
and you need to have some downtime in there too. Like you got to have some time to decompress because if you're just on edge all the time, it's crazy. And so like I mean, exercise is a good thing. It helps keep your mind like whether even if it's just walking or stretching or anything. Like I've gotten to the point where sometimes my workout is I'll walk from one room to another room in my house and I'll basically like do lunges while I walk from one room to the other, and then I'll do like 10 steps, and I'll do lunges while I'm walking, just to just to because I don't have time. I don't have time to go to a gym. I don't have time a lot of times to even do an at-home workout, depending on how long it is. So, but having some kind of physical activity definitely helps to kind of clarify things and get you refocused. Man, but making time for stuff, it gets crazy. And it almost seems like the older you get, the more stuff you have just surrounding you, whether it's physical stuff or people stuff, like different people, more people come into your life. Like your brother got married. Now you have a new sister in law, right? Maybe they
True.
start having kids, and then you've got new nieces and nephews, and there's family, there's more stuff all around you. You end up getting a profession and you make more money, and then you got more money all around you, which can be a problem. A lot of times we think in terms of, money being scarce is a problem. I know sometimes when you have a lot of money, that can become a real problem. I don't have as much personal experience with that one yet. But I definitely know about being broke. That's for sure. But it's pretty crazy. And I remember talking to like there's a resource I learned about time management from the inside out is the name of the book. I can't remember the author. And she's also got a video about it. And, she was really good at organizing stuff. And so depending on how your life looks, you can kind of block out times in your day to do certain things. You definitely probably need some kind of a calendar to make sure that you have your appointments and all that kind of stuff set. And then for me, a lot of times it's just like, okay, what's the most important thing I can do? And I need to make time for that. A lot of times, starting off with anything to do with my kids, that's the first thing that goes in my calendar. And then from there, it's like, all right, next I have anything related to business, anything related to what we're doing at BSS. If there's other family stuff that gets thrown in there too. But there's kind of this balancing act of, okay, these are the important things I have to do. Then it's a matter of prioritizing them, and that can be a real challenge. But truth be told, a lot of times stuff is just going to fall off the table. At least that's the way it has to me. You have to get good at saying no. And you have to get good at saying no to yourself, which can be really hard. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I mean, Joe, you've had a couple weeks to think about this. Have you come to any conclusions, any revelations, any of this how to make time for yourself? Is there anything you've tried? Anything that you've
Um, yeah, I mean, good question. I don't know that I've really got the answer.
Mhm.
I wish I did. Um, for me, the last couple weeks, like obviously, as Sully said, the wedding is over.
Mhm.
Um, now I've got a presentation I've got to give probably to our board because I want to change our science curriculum to better match the state curriculum and then give our students options on what sciences they take later in their high school career. Um, but you'll notice there's something there that I've kind of recognized that I need to stop doing,
Mm.
um, which is I decided to do that. Like, I didn't need to do that. That wasn't something that was like required of me,
Mhm.
but it was something I chose to do. And I'm finding that that idea that you kind of put there is, yeah, eventually you prioritize. Um, I think you have to start with that. I think truly figuring out the best way to use your time is figuring out what matters the most and then just doing those things.
Mhm.
Um, things like things that matter. So like, am I wasting a ton of time playing on my phone? Probably shouldn't be doing that so much.
Mhm.
Um, but recently it hasn't been that. Like I come home and I'm like, you know what? It'd be nice to play a couple games of Rocket League and then just go to bed now that my brain is turned off.
Mhm.
And having children is different, right? Like it's there's not like a no feature. Like, all right, let me
Mm.
shut this down for a few minutes and then
Right.
I'll turn it back on to deal with it in a minute. It's like, no, you have to deal with it immediately because
Mm.
there's not like another option. And so learning to come to terms with that has been an eye-opening experience. Um, we knew ahead of time. I remember my wife asking, are you ready for kids? I'm like, no. But if you ever want to have kids, probably gonna have to try anyway, right? I'm just never gonna be ready. That kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so it's just, I'm finding that there's really two things to one, just kind of prioritize what matters the most, and then accepting some of the craziness, right? Like it's gonna be built into if you want to live the life you probably want to live, there's gonna be some sleepless nights and just kind of accept that. It was way easier when I was 29 like you, Joe.
I know.
Now that I'm
But
30.
now that you're 30, it's like you hit a
Oh,
whole new threshold, right?
yeah. I mean, I remember the nights, I was staying up in college with some of my buddies who were going through some rough stuff at the time. And I don't think I've ever looked back and gone, yeah, those sleepless nights, staying up with friends who really needed to talk. I shouldn't have done that.
Mm.
Uh, I was exhausted the next day, but I don't remember anything about the next day. It never
Mhm.
hurt me. Even though I was really tired, I never look back and go, ah, man, I definitely shouldn't have done that. And I think that's really the attitude you should kind of take. Like, what are the days where you wake up, you're exhausted, and after you've had the exhausted day, you're like, that wasn't worth it, right? Those are the things you should cut out. If you're waking up the next day, you're exhausted, and you think about the thing that led to your exhaustion, and you go, that was still worth it. I think that's kind of something that helps you get through the the difficulty of it, right? Like, um, with all of those things going on, none of them were like, yeah, let me just not do this thing. Right. I didn't have a list where I was like, yeah, let's just do it. The only thing that's in there that I had considered is I coach golf, and I've definitely considered dropping coaching.
Mm,
Um, it's a lot. It never seems like a lot because like, it's just 2 hours a night, but it's not. It's not just 2 hours a night. It's easily many more.
mm,
It's 4 or 5 hours whenever we have matches.
mm-hmm.
It's finding out what to do with my daughter, right? When I was a coach, when we didn't have kids, it was like, wife, I'm home late. Have a good night. I'm gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's, what do I do with the small child who doesn't have, complete faculties over their own body
Mm-hmm.
before I can go do that thing? So, um, Saule says, I want to remove shorts from YouTube for myself. Typically, I have some decent self control, but shorts are designed to overcome that. Take your time and waste your brain.
It's true.
That's true. Yeah,
But they're so
definitely.
doggone entertaining, man.
That's true, Joe. I mean, how much time are you watching YouTube Shorts there, Joe?
Depends. If I have my kids, I spend a lot more time watching YouTube shorts.
But that's not about the YouTube Shorts. That's about
That's
spending
right.
time with your kids.
That's very true. It's very true.
I don't even like short form content. Oh no. That's why I stopped playing chess.
How
I
is
used to
chess
play.
short form content?
Well, no, no,
That's a
no.
long
Like,
game.
no, it's not. But I would play like 5-minute games of chess on my phone,
Oh, okay.
and then I would get like every time I played, I would just be mad after I was done.
Mm.
Like, I don't even like this.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why are you doing it? Don't do it, five head. Like, use your brain. Stop doing the thing that makes you unhappy.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point right there. Like, so maybe take a moment every once in a while throughout your day and like kind of take an inventory of how you're feeling. Am I upset? Am I angry? Am I stressed? Am I happy? Am I content? Am I whatever, right? And if there's an activity there that's causing you undue amounts of stress, maybe that's one that you could chop out, or start thinking about chopping out. Yeah. Chop it, man. Put it on the block and chop it. Um, but yeah, those I don't know. So like it says, I stopped playing War Thunder because I stopped liking it. Is one of those games that tries to cause you to be addicted. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Well, we do get addicted. A lot of times I'm learning about dopamine addiction a little bit. I'm kind of studying this and I'm learning how much it plays a part in so much of things. And like short form content's huge. Like there's a lot of dopamine rush that happens with that. With gaming, there's a lot of dopamine. There's a lot of other things too. And these things, even texting can cause dopamine addiction. There's so much involved. Um but the more dependent we are on dopamine, the less fulfilled we will feel, the more stressed out we will feel, the more we will procrastinate, the more we won't get done the things we want to get done. All these kinds of things come into play, and they kind of are because of this dopamine addiction, this feeling. We want to feel that feeling of reward. That's the dopamine feeling, right? It's that you feel rewarded. Um So many things are designed to cause us to be addicted and engage with them more so the people who make them can make more money. But it's bad for the consumer. You're not
It's
wrong.
I would I would actually, kind of push back on this idea slightly,
Okay.
in that it gets into kind of what I was thinking with this topic. What you're talking about with that dopamine rush is this idea that um, most people who design something, like, money is generally so far removed from the initial action that makes it for you,
Mm.
that, like, that isn't your concept when you're doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, the reason that YouTube shorts were made is because people like that content.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people make things that people want, and it's not because it's like, oh, it's gonna make me a boatload of money. Sometimes it does, but it's more of, I want to make this thing that people want because maybe even the people who made it want that thing, right? Like, I want to find cool new content that's short form, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what happens is, um, there's this level of societally we haven't been able to come to grips with, um, self-control, saying no to the things we want for the things that we need is
Mm-hmm.
really really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking from experience, I'm not very good at it. Like, this is me saying, this is what you should do, but uh and not that I do that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm just as bad. Like, for instance, my dopamine addiction,
Oh.
Pepsi. um I'm addicted to Pepsi, and there's not like, I know that it's bad for me. Um, it's not like the most refreshing beverage ever. It tastes good,
Mm-hmm.
but, like, it's not like, "Ah, yes, like, I feel great every time I have the drink." Like, I don't feel that. Instead, it's, like, just this, "I need it," like that SpongeBob meme where he's
Mm-hmm.
looking for the glass of water. "I need it." Um, and so I think, what would really help me, even here with this idea of spending time properly, is learning self-control. Um,
Mm.
I'm gonna pull out a thing from Don't Worry Wednesday from, like, decades ago,
Oh
almost
wow.
at this point. Maybe not
Decades
decades,
ago.
but many years ago. I think it was Ryan was talking about how he'd make himself a sandwich
Yes.
and then just set it on the counter and then look at it and not eat it to teach himself self-control. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I could do it. Like,
Really?
yeah, like, I don't think if I, like, I'm not gonna say a sandwich because I never make myself a sandwich, but I'm gonna say pizza because that's something I enjoy making. I enjoy
Ah,
eating.
yes.
Let's say I made a pizza. I don't think I could sit there and look at the pizza for, like, anything more than, like, a minute or two before I'd be like, I'm gonna eat that pizza that I made because I'm hungry.
Mm.
Like, sitting in that is very difficult for me.
Yeah. I don't think
And
you're alone. I don't think you're
no, no, not at all. But I think, like, there's ways around that part of you, right? Like, you can definitely. So for me, right, like, I know that I have a very addictive personality. Like, I just want to do the thing. And so what I do is I just put myself in a situation where I can't do the thing,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Like, hey, I would really like to, I don't even know, eat cookie dough, right?
It is
So I
good.
just so I just don't buy it.
Mhm.
I just don't go to the store and I don't buy it. And then I don't have to worry about it, right? Like, those kinds of things. All right, SLA says, at least for the original iterations of a lot of things, oftentimes the person who originally makes something does it because they think it will be cool or helpful or good in some way. And Kat says, I love eating cement, which I don't know if that's.
Hey, it's weird. I love the smell of fresh concrete. A lot of people say they hate it. And I'm like, but it smells so good.
Concrete.
when
Oh my.
I was making, mortar for a brick wall that Steve and I were building, like it smelled so good. And I'm like sitting there, oh. Like we ought to be like having a fan, to blow this out of here because it's not good for you to breathe. But I'm like, I like breathing it. It smells so good. I like it. Eating it, hey, to each their own, right? And if you can have a disciplined form of cement eating, it's all you. But I think you're right,
You guys
Joe.
rem-
I think
remember when we said we
self-control
weren't
plays a big part.
professional help?
What's that?
Remember we said we weren't professional help? We
Yes.
sometimes say things that you definitely shouldn't do.
Yeah. Don't eat cement.
Remind you of that.
It's on the bag. Don't eat it.
Did it really?
It says on the bag.
Um, that's
um,
concerning.
you need professional help. That's why you're here. Well, you've come to the
Wrong place.
yeah. I mean, if you what? Hey, you know what? We can help you. What you should do. Here's my advice. If you need professional help, go find a professional to help you.
Brilliant. I like this advice. This is good advice.
And it's why the police are after you. Hey, you know what? You probably got all kinds of reasons the police are after you, knowing you.
Yeah, knowing cats.
Jeez, I tell you what, like, especially if there's any Joe stalking going on, like.
Oh yeah.
um. But yeah, I think you're right. I think self-control plays a big part in it. And I think the more we can teach ourselves discipline in that self-control, like, we were pretty doggone disciplined when we did Double Cup of Joe show because we got up every day, every morning, Monday through Friday, and streamed.
Mm-hmm.
It was nuts, man. But we made a commitment and we did it. And there were only a few times when we didn't. But for the most part, rock solid and disciplined. And so really the more it's weird because we have this idea of freedom. We have this idea that I want to be free to express myself. I want to be free to be who I am. I want to be free to do all these things. And so we think that freedom means I'm going to I don't have to have any boundaries. Because boundaries and like that's like a lack of freedom. But what I've found is that, the more I discipline myself and the more I structure my life, the more I don't have to think about that, so the more free I feel. Does that make sense? And a big part of those boundaries is saying no, like saying no to things that maybe I want to do, maybe I think are a good idea, maybe all these kinds of different things. Like I have to say no to a lot of stuff in order to be free to do the things that are really important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think isn't there the I can't remember if it's a biblical thing or not, but the idea that you're always going to be a slave to something.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta figure out what that is. If you're slaved to your desires, um, for whatever it is that you want, you're not really free.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, finding that actual freedom is incredibly liberating.
Mm-hmm. Well, it comes with some peace. When you know how you're going to operate, when you have it set up, when you have yourself structured in a way that you can trust yourself, that's one of the reasons why, as a musician, I practice, is because the better I get as a musician, the more I know I can trust myself and the freer I am to play more and more complex things. More and with better tone, with better, style, all that kind of stuff, but it requires that discipline of action, of practice, of, all the boring stuff in order to get to that point. And I think you can take that same principle and you can apply it with all the tasks you have to do, where it's like, okay, the more structured I am, the more disciplined I am, the more I can exert self control, the more I can have control of myself, the more free I will feel, the more relaxed I will feel, the more comfortable I will be saying no to things. All of that stuff will kind of start to fall into place. Now, I think in life we kind of fly by the seat of our pants a lot of times. I mean, you're a parent, right? And so like just stuff happens and out of nowhere, all of a sudden you're handling something. And it happens when you're not a parent too, right? But I think when you have a small human being that you're responsible for, it it kind of kicks into high gear at that point. It's like all of a sudden you might have a big mess to clean up,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you feel like it or not sometimes, right? You just got to do it. Yes, messy. People are messy, dude.
True. Truer words have not been said in chat.
People are messy. Life is messy. All this stuff it's a big mess, right? So then I think one of the questions I like to ask myself is what can I control?
Mm,
What are the things in
interesting.
here that I can influence? What things can I control? If there's something outside of my control, then I generally try to avoid it, which is why a lot of times I avoid the news.
Oh,
Because most of that stuff, I have like, there's nothing I can do about Trump in court. Nothing I can do about that. The only thing I can do with when it comes to politics is I can vote. That's about it. I mean, I could protest. There are times when I've protested.
really?
Yeah, walk down Michigan Avenue in Lansing, Michigan. Protesting. Got all
I
of
guess.
us. What's that?
I guess, yeah, it's a little bit closer. Wait, I don't want to protest. A 2 hour drive to go protest.
Right? Well, for
Oh
me, it
my
wasn't that long of a drive. It's like basically right in my backyard, right? Like I can go
god.
there, but but that's it. So
Yeah.
like, why should I fill my brain and my life and everything with a bunch of stuff that I have no influence with?
True.
So then, what can I do? And yeah, I don't know.
That's have you ever read the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis?
I have.
Yeah, there's the one about his writing to the demon. If you haven't read the Screw Tape Letters, quick background.
Mm,
It's two demons. There's a trainee demon and a non-trainee demon. And the trainee demon is trying to get this uh human individual to like forsake God and become evil or whatever.
mm-hmm,
And it's just the older demon writing about all the things that the younger demon should like use. It's like politics. Politics is a great thing to get people invested in because it really doesn't change a whole lot at the end of the day. It gets people really riled up,
mm-hmm,
but at the end of the day, it's passing. It's fleeting. It doesn't matter.
mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, get them super invested in politics. That'll help. Um, you know, things of that nature. It's like all these everyday things that we think of that get in our minds and kind of distract from what could we actually do.
Mm-hmm. That's a good book. I like the guy's name, Wormwood. Wormwood is he the trainee?
Uh,
And
can't
Screw
remember.
Tape's the
It was Uncle Screw Tape or whatever. Yeah, I think so.
maybe. Yeah.
Sounds right. Yeah, that sounds
C.S.
right.
Lewis. C.S. Lewis, classic, man. C.S. Lewis is great.
Yeah,
But
man, his writing is great. There's some really good authors from that time frame. That's
he was good friends
I-
with Tolkien.
uh, well, yeah, two really great book series. The what
Narnia.
yeah, the Chronicles of Narnia and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, written by two Oxford professors, like
Oh,
almost
Lion, Witch, and the
simultaneously.
Wardrobe is part of the Narnia.
Right.
You mean
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings?
Oh, did I? Yeah, did I say Lord of the Chronicles of Narnia and yeah? So
Yeah.
the Chronicles of Narnia and the Lord of the Rings are both written by Oxford professors at approximately the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and
And they were
it's
friends.
really good. Yeah.
It was funny. One of them was a Catholic and one of them was a Protestant. One of them was like Church of England and one of them was Catholic. So you can be friends
Um.
and have these divides.
Yeah. Which is really interesting. So, like, I think Tolkien was a Catholic, right?
Yes.
Um, because it's really funny though, because that's C.S. Lewis wasn't any form of Christian until after World War One,
Mm.
and we met Tolkien, and Tolkien's like, "Hey, I got a book for you." So, yeah, it's really interesting. Um, Noah, G.K. Chesterton. Yeah,
Are
but
you related
G.K.
to Noah?
Yeah, that's my younger brother.
Hey, what's up, Noah? Younger brother?
um,
Are you the one that got married?
no, no, it's not the way go there.
Oh.
Um, but no, C.S. Lewis writes some really, really good. If you ever want peace in your life, I recommend reading Lewis because Lewis writes about like forgiveness immediately in the aftermath of like getting bombed. So like he writes about forgiving Germans as bombs are falling on Britain, right? Like
Mm.
concurrently. It's not like he's saying like, "Hey, you should forgive people when things are going fine for him." He's like, "You should forgive people and my house is gone." Like that kind of stuff. Like
Mm.
you're actively on the other side of a very violent conflict. And he's like, "These are the people you should forgive."
Mm.
And I think that that's the kind of writing if you're looking for um a life that just really gets through um difficulty, a life that really like you have conflict with people um and you don't know what's going on, like
Mm-hmm.
his writings are definitely like you can find peace in those moments. And so if you're having like if you're having troubles that like every day, like my neighbor, dang dogs are keeping me up at night or whatever, like
Stupid
that's
dogs.
not yeah, that's not high level conflict compared to what C.S. Lewis is writing about, but it still applies, right? Like if it works when they're dropping bombs on you, I think it'll probably work when your neighbor's dog is barking loudly.
Yeah. That's a really great point. Cuz I remember when like forgiveness is one of those things. It's part of the healing process, right?
Mhm.
And I'll tie it back around to your topic too in just a second, but you're right and C.S. Lewis is right that the time to forgive is when you're hurting. That's what brings the most healing and peace. And I remember like and if you don't, then it can cause a lot of unrest and it can cause a lot of weird stuff later on in life. And I can remember trying to undo some of this stuff and going through this program where it was teaching me how to heal from a lot of past wounds, a lot of things that were cropping back up, a lot of things that were just glitching out in my life. Like life was just glitching out, messed up and weird. And it would like this program had me go and relive the moments and feel the hurt again from those old wounds. Some of them were like 20 years old. And it was like, okay, go back to that moment. Go back and feel that pain. Go back and remember how that felt and remember what you did and all that kind of stuff. And then feel the pain again. And then, right then, is when you forgive that person or forgive the event or whatever it is, right? You forgive. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself and you have to go back to the time when it hurt. And that's when you forgive and that's when the healing can take place. And so you're absolutely right. But the way it ties into your topic here, it's kind of a loose tie in. But I will say, you're going to do this. You're going to try. You're going to, make all these things happen. You're going to try and move forward and everything like that. And you're not going to get it all right all the time. So, this is when you learn forgiveness of self. Because, hey, I'm like really good at beating myself up and it never does any good. But I'm really good at it.
Okay.
Yep. And Steve, yes, you're right. Oh, yep. A lot easier said than done. Trying to forgive in the midst of battle, whether it be physical, mental, or spiritual. You're absolutely right. And Sado True Stever.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Sado True.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, for those of you who are considering, like, I've got some repressed difficulties that Joe's talking about, you definitely need to be in a mental position where you are gonna forgive the other person and not just cause yourself more pain by bringing it back up
Right. This
to
was
just bring it back up.
this was a guided program, right? Like it was like
Yeah.
where I had the next steps. If you're just bringing stuff back up for the sake of it, like you might just rile yourself up and make yourself upset and maybe depress
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Right. So anyway, speaking of why we're not like if you need help, you need it to be directed to you and have somebody who's there to help you along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Noah and Steve, if you have a topic, you should share it at don'tworrywednesday.com.
Yeah. Or in the
And
chat.
one of my other, yeah, or in the chat. We don't really care.
I mean, we care about your topic. We just don't care where you put it.
That's true. That's true. Like maybe your
Yeah, send us a
family,
topic. We're not gonna care about it.
yeah. Like suppose that your family is like bugging you about your interest in Catholicism or something like that, and just making fun of you on a constant basis, and you need help with that. You could put that in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Steve, I think the personal stuff I have going on right now and trying to forgive my ex-wife in the midst of a big legal battle seems so far from what I'm capable of. Dude, I get you.
boom, we'll hit that one. He's outed himself. uh,
Hypothetically speaking, yes.
hmm. uh, which of them do you want us to jump on, Joe?
What?
We can jump on either of them,
Which what?
Steve or Noah. I'm just making up topics for them. that we can just deal with.
Mm-hmm. Rock, paper, scissors. Wait, whose topics?
Okay,
We've
who?
got.
Steve and Noah. Noah has a hypothetical battle against his family
Wait,
for his interest in Catholicism. That
where?
is entirely hypothetical that I might have just said 12 seconds ago. Verbally
Oh,
to you. That's why he's another
oh.
one. And then Steve
Sorry, I lost track. I thought. Okay, so what was the
is in the.
Catholicism one?
Don't worry about it.
You got a hypothetical battle that might be hypothetical.
Might be hypothetical.
Somebody's interested in Catholicism and their family's not happy about it.
Yeah,
That's
imagine.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just do it.
Of course. Of course he'd say
Because
that. Yeah.
you're
I
going to
think I
live
like
your
Steve.
life and you're going to make people upset, man.
All right, let's go with Steve's. I'm not ready to handle this one. I'm not ready to fight Joe in the middle of this.
Wait,
Don't
what?
worry, he wins me.
Who said it was going to be a fight? I'll
I
fight you.
did.
I'll fight you.
You were the one that said it 12 seconds ago.
What, you just do it and you're going to make people mad?
Yeah, and then I got mad, and you were surprised.
You're mad?
Yeah.
You got this big smile on your face, man.
Well, this is my angry face. Do it. Oh, we're just gonna do both. Why don't we just do both?
All right. At the same
Have time
time?
for both. Steve. He's like, yeah, why not? We're just gonna do both. Let's speed run the both of them. Why not?
What would you recommend? Oh,
What
I
do you?
like this question. Steve's actually got a question here.
Yeah.
For people in that situation, what would you recommend doing to help mentally prepare yourself for even trying to forgive someone in the midst of the chaos?
Yep. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm gonna rephrase Steve's question
Okay.
in a way that we can all recognize it, and then you can put it in the current topic thread.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, cool. So
Go.
Steve asked the question, what would you recommend doing to help mentally prepare yourself for trying to forgive someone even in the midst of chaos? Which is a great question. I think everyone deals with this on some level, right? Like we were just talking about how like life doesn't give you infinite time. So there is chaos going on. There's lots of things going on, and so how do we deal with it? So um I want to attempt to answer that. And I don't know that this is the I will give the best answers. Um but I'm gonna give it a shot. And I have no room to speak. Um
You have no room.
but
You got
no
plenty of
room
room
to
to speak,
speak.
dude. Look at I'm going to give you more room. Now you have the whole screen.
Oh, perfect. So again, this is kind of I'm gonna approach this from, my end, and then it's a Christian perspective, so we're gonna go with that. First of all, a little bit of background. When there was a point at which my wife had broken up with me,
Mm,
and kind of like a mutual thing. We weren't married at the time. We were dating still, but um, we were going through some things, and I wrote her all these letters because I was very, very, very upset with her
mhm.
for it. Even though I was really upset with myself. And I don't think that this is the same as Steve's situation or anyone's situation necessarily. But um except for in this instance, like the person that I really needed to kind of forgive was myself.
Mm.
Um in this instance. And I didn't want to. I wanted to blame Natalie for it the entire time, which is not good. It's not healthy to do that. But there was this chaos, and there was this I didn't know what to do, and I was sick all the time. I couldn't eat. I didn't want to do anything. There was like this pit in my stomach all of the time, and I'm like, how am I ever going to get through this? How am
Mm,
I ever going to forgive someone here? Like, this is terrible. I don't forget forgiveness. Like, how am I going to get to a point where I can just like stand up as a strong individual again? Um, and for me, again, a bit of the Christian perspective um, is this idea that uh, if you're a Christian, you believe that God has forgiven you
mm,
for your imperfections,
mhm,
your mm, evil, as it were. And, you know, if I compare my evil to the evil of anyone else here on earth, that's millions times closer than my evil compared to a perfect God, right? Like the closeness of me to, let's say, Noah in terms of evil, pretty close. So, like, the level of forgiveness to get down there is just not a lot.
mm,
But God to forgive me is a ton. And so, remembering this idea that God forgave you before you did anything, right? Like, I didn't go out there and, I wasn't out there praying, like, God, please forgive me. And then he decided to send his son to die and then he forgave me. Like, that wasn't what happened. Like, he went ahead and preemptively, like, forgave me. He did all of that on the front end. And so when I think about forgiving people, I think very often it's better mentally to remember what you've been forgiven for,
mm,
right?
mhm,
Like if you're focusing on um I'm gonna pull up the verses over here as we talk about it. But if you're focusing on the evils that your opponent has done, or ops, as the kids say these days, or if you're focusing on your evil, as it were, um, it's gonna be tough to come to that place of forgiveness because you're looking at something that's not forgiveness. You're looking at the issue that caused you the anguish in the first place, and so you have to kind of focus on the good. And so I always go back to kind of Philippians 4, which is this idea where it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." And that's that idea where, again, you've been forgiven. Like, you can be excited about the fact that you've been forgiven, regardless of what that situation is with this other person.
mm,
You're like, okay, I'm going through X and it sucks. But this other situation, me and God, or, however you look at it, I've already been forgiven. I can be happy for that. Finding joy in that. And you're probably thinking, because this is what I thought when I was going through all this, is that is the least helpful thing I've ever heard you say. This sucks, and you're just saying be happy.
mhm, yeah.
Like, that doesn't.
Yeah, I get you.
What? I remember reading this and being like, that's stupid. You're stupid. And that anger just inside of me. And so I kept reading this passage kind of over and over until I finally got it. But let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Don't be anxious about anything. Again, thank you. Just don't be anxious. Thank you. That was encouraging. Just don't be anxious. Oh, okay. I hadn't thought of that. But now that you say that, I just won't be anxious. Um, and in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And then finally, brothers, whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, excellent, worthy of praise, think about such things. And so that idea there is when you're going through it, to just pray to God, like, God, prayer and supplication. A supplication is a word that I think it needs probably definition. So typically when people pray to God, they're like, God, help me with such and such a thing, which is good and important, and definitely should be done. But there's a second level of that, which is supplication, which is this idea that you acknowledge God for how good he is,
Mm.
right? And that's a part that's really, if you don't know what that means, it doesn't seem like it's that important, but I'm trying to go step by step kind of guide here. It's this idea that you acknowledge God is that good, right? So when you're praying about God, I need the help for forgiving my ex-wife, my girlfriend, the person who beat me up at school, the person who calls me names, my coworker who just made me work an extra 4-hour shift, whatever it is. It's, hey, pray to God about it, and then also like tell him about how good he is and be thankful for what he's done.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, that's not even remotely related to my topic right now. Like, I need forgiveness. Here, I want to forgive. I want to get past this. And you're telling me to just like say God is good and be thankful? And the answer here is yes. I'm telling you that. Um, because those are the things that allow you to forgive someone in the midst of chaos.
Mm.
Because this last section that I speed ran, I'm going to go over it again, is important. How do you forgive others when you're in the midst of chaos? Well, if you've ever been in a a busy place, or a place where lots of things are happening, or where chaos is all around you and it's like I have no idea where to go, and you want to get out of that, you lock eyes on the one place you're trying to get to, and you just go that way. You just focus on that. In the midst of all the chaos, you're like, that's what I need to do. I'm going there and nothing's going to stop me. And so that's where this last section, whatever's true, whatever's honorable, whatever's just, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely, whatever's commendable, if there's anything of excellence or worthy of praise, think about such a thing. And when you're in this midst of like, I want to forgive this person so that I can move past it, but there's all this junk that's in there that you're dealing with, and it's not going away. This isn't me saying that stuff doesn't exist, because it very clearly does. It's saying there is a mountain of trash right there. I need you to focus on the thing that is more important than the trash.
Mm.
I need you to focus on the good thing. And the good thing might not be related at all to the trash. And so when it sounds like I'm just completely telling you that there isn't trash, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying putting your mind on the things that are good. In this instance, the forgiveness that you have by God will help you look away from the things that are bad. So that way, when you turn back, you can say, I forgive you, because you know that it's there, right? Um, for I let's see if I can if I have a piece of paper I can do this. There was
I have a piece of paper. I have a piece of paper. I got you.
no, I got it. I got a thing. I got a thing.
I can't get it to you anyways.
I know. All right, so like here, I've got a piece of paper. I got a piece of paper. Go to this. All right. What do you see on this piece of paper, Joe?
A dot. No,
Perfect.
wait, it's West
Okay.
Virginia.
It could be West Virginia, but it's a dot, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're looking at the dot, you see a dot, but also there's a ton of paper.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of paper that's still good to write on and still valuable for use. And if you're focused on the small piece of trash that you ignore all of the rest of this, then you're never going to be able to face the gargantuan level of forgiveness that you've been given. Right? Like if you're not seeing the goodness outside of it and how much bigger that is, coming back to focus on forgiving the person in the chaos is just not going to be possible because you can only see that chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Steve says, so it's essentially a change of mindset that has to happen, right? I would say no. Actually, this is going to be weird. I'm going to try and communicate the idea in a way because I don't. Hello, Mayang Leos.
Yo.
I don't want you to think that you should have your mindset is necessarily wrong. Sometimes you do, right? Like in my instance, the way that I was thinking about my wife was not good, and I needed to change that mindset. But in this instance, there's a good chance like you're thinking of things properly, right? Like there's a solid if somebody wrongs you, chances are they probably wronged you
Mm-hmm.
and like they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And so your mindset might be completely correct, like that's trash and that shouldn't happen. And that's absolutely right. It's a difference in focus.
Yes. I was just gonna say focus. What are you focusing on?
Yeah.
Like you got the dot
Um,
right there, right? You the dark spot, the whatever. But there's a
right.
whole bunch of white all around it, right?
Right. Because I mean, Joe did properly identify that that is a dot, maybe West Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not quite sure, but he did properly identify that is what that is. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not about
But if
like
I'm
his
focused
mindset
on
is
the
wrong.
spot, right? If I'm
Mhm.
focused on the blemish or whatever, right? And I might miss all the other stuff that is good around me. Is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, I
yeah,
didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
no, I'm good. You talk now. I've said far too much here,
You're
Joe.
done?
And
Man,
you
I was
probably
just about to make some popcorn. Like just
no, no, no. You can't no popcorn for you, dang it. You have to
dang
stay
it.
here. You have to forgive me for making you stay here, but
I'll forgive you,
yeah.
Joe.
Oh, thank you, Joe. But yeah, I feel like you probably have better words of wisdom for Steve in this regard.
Well, Steve and I we know each other quite well. And we've been through a lot of this stuff together. Yes, Steve, like focusing on all the white space on the paper rather than the small black spot. Yes, absolutely. Because even here's the thing, as painful as this moment is, it is only just one piece of your life. Now it can overtake you completely. And Katz, I know you're also dealing with your situation as well, where you're dealing with divorce, you're dealing with people lying, you're dealing with all this stuff. All of like those feelings and emotions come in, and they can be absolutely overwhelming, and they can totally run you over,
Mm.
and they do, and it can be all like it can take up so much of your energy that you can't really focus on anything else. You have a hard time focusing on anything else. And smack dab in the middle. It's a tough spot. Here's the thing. I'm actually going to give you the same counsel that my lawyer gave me right at the beginning. Just a very simple question. Are you seeing a therapist? You don't have to answer that in the chat. But my attorney, when I was going through this, and my answer to her was yes. I had started seeing my therapist, a few months before I filed for divorce. And my attorney said to me, keep your therapist. Keep your therapist. There are things here, there are emotions here and thoughts and places that your mind will go in this whole process that a professional is going to be able to help you that nobody else can. And seriously, I can't. And Steve, I know you and I have had this conversation before. Like I try my best to be your friend, and I like to think that I'm pretty good at it sometimes. Most of the time, hopefully. But there are places I can't go. Like I can't do the same job as a therapist could do. Right? And here on Don't Worry Wednesday, we can't do that either, right? Like there are things that a therapist can do that I can't. And I'll never forget that. It hit me like a ton of bricks, you know. And I was glad that I had my therapist, and that that's what my answer was to my attorney. If I hadn't, my attorney was a real shark, right? So I can totally imagine the reprimand. Like, what do you mean you don't have a therapist? You better have one. Like like this is gonna get rough, man. And it did, and it will. Divorces are messy. Legal battles are messy. Is why, man, I look at romance and I'm like, man, it either ends one of two ways: either crashes and burns, or somebody dies.
I thought of a dark joke there, and I'm not gonna go there. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was seeing a therapist. I filed lately. I've been personally thinking about seeking another one just because of how mental anguish the situation has put on me. Absolutely. I haven't seen one in about a year, so I would recommend it. And I know that my attorney was dead accurate. Like, if I hadn't had my therapist throughout that time period, holy cow, man, it would have been such a crazy mess. And Steve, I know your situation. I know your ex, and I know all that stuff, and I know the kind of stuff that she's putting you through. Cats, I can only imagine. And it's it's a mess. And anguish is such a good term. It is mental anguish. It's crazy. Kat says, first time I talked to a therapist, she pointed out how I tend to force myself to be the mediator whenever it's good for me or not. And this situation has proven her right. Hey, you know what? You take action and you care, and that's good. There are goods here, right? But you're not going to get through this situation without some degree of suffering and pain. It's going to hurt. And people around you are going to get hurt. I remember that also hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, let's just be realistic here. This is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot of people around you. And those people don't necessarily deserve to be hurt, but it's going to be painful. Like, this is the nature of what's happening here. Steve, we laugh, but it's true. It's either crash and burn or die. Yep, that's right. And usually one of you is left after the other one dies. Unless you, by the grace of God, somehow you both die in the same tragic accident.
You both crash and burn.
Right.
Goof.
Yep, I know. But anyway, all that aside, so I wanted to start with that and encourage you, if you're going through something like this, where it's this stressful and this strenuous and this emotional and with all kinds, because people are going to play games and they're going to backbite and they're going to lie and they're going to cheat and they're going to say all kinds of stuff about you, and emotions are going to be like, dude, a professional is going to be very helpful. Now, here's the thing. Joe said a lot of really, really good stuff, and I agree with all of it. We have to find a way to we have to find a way to find the good, those good moments, and set your mind on those. Now, here's the thing: sometimes it can't be the fact that God forgave me or anything to do with God. I can remember there was a time in all of this where I was basically arguing and fighting with God, and I did not like him. I was mad at him for setting this whole deal up, like the whole universe. Like why did you create any of this? Like, seriously, I'm mad at you for that. And like, because all it was pain. All I could see was pain. It just was fully, encompassing. It just hurt. Everything hurt. And so then sometimes it's just the really simple things, man. Sometimes it's a cold beer on a hot day, right? Or a ride in a kayak, or a walk in the quiet. The smell of corn dogs in a deep fryer, and knowing that you have squeezed cheese to put on it. The peanut butter jelly blue cheeseburger at whatever bar that was that we went to, Steve. Right? These little things. Sometimes it's got to be those little moments. A good poop. Right? Sorry. All these, like, if you can find those goods, those times when, man, it can just feel a little bit better. Something can be good, and it can be those simple things. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, who invented the water tower? They were a genius. I don't even know who it was. I even Googled it, and Google didn't know who it was. But the idea that you can use gravity to push water into all of these people's homes in a surrounding area. Brilliant. Right? But it's hard to take our focus off of the thing that hurts, especially when we're in so much pain, when we're in such a painful situation. And a really good friend of mine, Paul, he's the one who actually I sat down with him and talked to him for a couple hours, and he's actually the one that convinced me that I needed to see a therapist. And this was as I could see my marriage deteriorating and falling apart and all this kind of stuff, and I knew it was like all like everything was getting crazy and stressful and hard. And it was messing with my day-to-day living. And he told me this real simple thing. He was like, if you go and you break your arm, like if something happens, you have an accident, your arm's broken, you're not going to be able to think about much except for the fact that your arm's broken because it hurts so much. Like, you have this physical pain in your arm that's taking up all this mental energy because it's just right there in the forefront and you can't not focus on it, right? So the same thing happens when we're in emotional pain, when we're in mental pain, all these things. And it's hard to see anything other than the pain until the pain gets fixed, until the problem gets taken care of, or at least is in the process of getting taken care of, right? And so he said, this is a moment where you need to find a doctor, somebody that can help you with mental pain, emotional pain. So that can start getting fixed. So then you don't have to be focused on that pain so much. So, all right. There's my spiel about that. But Joe's right. Whatever's good, whatever's pure, whatever's noble, whatever's honorable, all the descriptive terms that verse uses, it's spot on. If you can start to think about those things, time with your friends, making music, making art, writing, getting lost in a good book, watching a movie, whatever, something that's a good. If you can set your mind there, then you can be at peace, right? But then how do you forgive? And Katz, you said something very interesting. You said, where was it? Up here. From my viewpoint, people aren't obligated to your forgiveness, even if they apologize. Like, yeah, I think it's good they've come to terms with their actions, and I hope they can grow as a person. But there are certain circumstances that I can't forgive. I understand where you're coming from. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Nobody is obligated to your forgiveness. Ever. And forgiveness isn't something you give to them anyway. It's not for them. Forgiveness is for you and your peace. It's not for them, letting them off the hook. And that's another thing. I used to think forgiveness was just like, well, and I think it's partly because we hear legal stuff and we're like, okay, if my debts are forgiven, that means I don't have to pay them anymore, right? And so then I'm off the hook. But that's not what the kind of forgiveness we're talking about here. Forgiveness, what we're talking about here, is letting it go in your mind because it's liberating for you. People still have to be responsible for their actions. If somebody's lying, cheating, stealing, doing all kind of stuff, people are going to they need to be held responsible for that. I can forgive somebody for stealing from me. I can forgive somebody for treating me poorly. I can forgive them, but it doesn't have to have anything to do with them. It has to do with me in my heart and setting myself free. It's not letting them off the hook. And I think that's the problem. I think that's one of the big hitches that we have, and one of the avoidances we have to forgiveness is we think, oh, well, they're going to get away with the bad stuff they did. No. I believe karma's real. What goes around comes around, all this kind of stuff, right? The stuff we send around will come back around. But that forgiveness, what that does, I agree with Joe. The way I got through some of this stuff was through a lot of prayer. Sometimes my prayer was argument. Sometimes it was yelling at God, being very angry, that kind of stuff. And that's okay too. But one of the things sometimes, Joe talked about God's goodness. And I remember there being a time when I didn't think God was good. And I remember going to confession on that, and a priest told me to pray for God to show me his goodness, so I would be able to see the goodness, because I didn't see it. You like it better now that I worded it like that? I'm glad, because that's the thing. Like, I mean, forgiveness, it's so backwards. We think we're kind of brought up to think that forgiveness, it means we let somebody off the hook. So forgiveness is something we do for another person. And when we do something wrong, our apology is something we do for that other person. But that's not it. our repentance when we do something wrong isn't for the person we offended. It's for us in our conscience. So we can let go of the situation. We repent of it so we can be free from it. Now, we still have to be responsible for the things we do wrong. We still might have consequences to deal with, of course. But us repenting can bring us peace. That's when we do something wrong. And forgiveness, it's the same way, but the other side, right? Forgiveness is us setting ourselves free, not setting them free. They still have to deal with the consequences. They still have to deal with their own conscience. They still have to deal with all that kind of stuff, right? But when we forgive, it sets us free from that. Kind of like forgiveness doesn't have to be this big grand thing, but more so me in my brain moving past people wronging me or others. Yes, exactly, Cats. Exactly. You don't ever have to tell somebody you forgive them. Sometimes when you tell somebody you forgive them, you just make them more mad. Because they're like, what are you forgiving me for? I didn't do anything wrong. I've had that said to me a bunch. I forgive you for that. And then they're like, what'd you forgive me for? I didn't do anything wrong. It's your fault that you got offended. Or whatever. But yeah. And so, Steve, also in your situation, you forgiving your ex isn't letting her off the hook for all the stuff she's done. And it's not you glossing over them and saying she didn't do them, or not saying they weren't that bad, or not saying they weren't wrong, because they were. They were wrong, and they were bad, and they were awful, and they were horrendous, and all these kinds of, all those things, all those feelings. You are right in thinking that these are bad and painful and harmful things. That's correct thinking. You forgiving her is just you freeing yourself. And that's why, sometimes it takes some prayer, sometimes it takes some therapy, sometimes it takes whatever to try and understand, like, okay, how can I let this go? Yes, this happened. Yes, it was bad. Yes, it hurt me. Yes, it was wrong. And I forgive you. And sometimes just saying, I forgive that person. And you don't even have to say it out loud. You can just say it in your head. I forgive that person. I forgive that person. I forgive that person. Sometimes you have to say it again and again. But each time you do, it can bring you a greater level of peace. So then you're not bound up. But don't think in terms of forgiveness as I'm letting them get away with the wrong thing that they did, or I'm saying that the thing they did wasn't wrong. That's not it at all. What they did was wrong, and it was painful. This is you setting yourself free. I never looked at forgiveness like that before. Yeah, we don't. It took me a long time to understand this. That's what forgiveness is. And then it's yeah. Unforgiveness and holding a grudge is like drinking poison expecting the other person to die from it. I remember that analogy, and that stuck with me. But it's not easy. And sometimes you got to do it over and over again. And sometimes you got to forgive yourself. And understand that it's okay. It's okay for this to be a process. It's okay for this to be a journey. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, Joe, piggybacking on what you're saying there, I think the best way to look at it is to imagine that you're both parents. Um, Joe. They're talking
Huh?
to you. But imagine
Imagine
you were parents.
imagine Steve and I are parents.
Yeah, imagine that for a second. If that, you're
Well, we
29,
are.
maybe not, but
We're not
um,
we're not co-parents.
right. And imagine that your child does something wrong,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
You still forgive your child. Like nobody's like, dang it, child, you made a mess, or you said a bad word, or you did XYZ thing, and therefore, like, I don't forgive you. Most parents are like, yeah, I forgive you. Like, yes. But if you're a good parent, you also then go, and here's the consequences of your
Mm.
action,
Mhm.
right? The loving, forgiving thing is, hey, you did a thing, and I forgive you for doing that thing. I'm not going to let that hurt me, right? Like when your children do something mean, it's important to not let that hurt you, not let that be like, even with teaching, they tell us, like, look, most of the time when your students say something that's like offensive to you, it's not really towards you. So don't take it personal. Like, don't let it weigh on your heart longer than it needs to. But that also doesn't mean I let my students just get away with everything, right? Like, there is consequence for doing the thing. And to pretend that there isn't uh, actually makes it worse for both parties.
Mm. Mhm.
Right? Like if you're trying to raise children, I was listening to a psychologist talk about this. Like, don't raise your kids to be someone you would hate, right? Like, don't let if they cheat, they should be punished for cheating.
Mhm.
If they're
Yeah, there should be
stealing,
consequences.
right? Like, it's not enough to say, "Hey, I saw what you did and I forgive you," right? Because that's now for some children that might be the case, right? Like some children deeply internalize that, and if you sat them down and said that, they would beat themselves up for it longer than you ever could. And that might be the only consequence you need to give them. But I suspect that for most people, a very consistent consequence, like, you cheated, here's the repercussions.
Mhm.
You lied, here's the repercussions. And just very, very straightforward, because people need to know, hey, I forgive you. This isn't weighing on me anymore. My judgment I apply in distributing your punishment is not from a place of, I haven't forgiven you. It's from a place of, I forgive you and you need to go through this.
Mhm.
You need to have this consequence. If you go back to like my original point with C.S. Lewis, he's like, I forgive the Germans that are bombing my country.
Mm. Mhm.
The UK did not say, okay, we'll just keep letting them bomb. That wasn't the reaction. It was, we forgive you. Here's some back. Right? Like,
Mm.
this is the consequence
Mhm.
of doing that, and recognizing that you can do both. It seems so counter to all of our logic, right? Like, it seems so crazy, to just say, like, I forgive you, bad thing attached with it, right?
Mm.
Like, you're assigning discipline.
Mhm.
Like, that feels in our like gut immediate instinct, like that doesn't make sense. But in reality, if we thought about it for just a little bit longer than 12 seconds, we'd recognize, no, that is what I needed. And for a lot of my students who I've disciplined, I'm like, hey, you did this, here's the consequence. Um, Especially much later on, they're like, I'm glad that you did that.
Mm.
I'm I'm glad you were consistent about this. I'm glad you were I'm glad you didn't go and like treat me terribly the rest of the year. But you said, okay, I forgive you. Here's the consequences for your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And separate those. So cool.
Yep. It's kind of an act of reparation, kind of an act of, you know, it's, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of punishment per se, but I am a fan of consequences and reparation, right? If somebody does something wrong, they need to do something to repair that, right? Now, sometimes, now I'm not a lawyer and I'm not in legal profession, but you know, there are times when things deserve to deserve a punishment, and mainly is when you do something that really harms somebody else. They deserve to be punished for it. That's weird in a divorce, you know, like you look at this and it feels like, man, this person is doing so much that's going to harm me and they're going to get off scot free and I'm going to pay them all kinds of child support and blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, where's the consequence in that? The consequence is they get all this stuff. It's like, dang it. But anyway, Kat says in the chat, I remember when my mom started this divorce process, she asked me if I could ever forgive her, and I kind of just shrugged. People were telling me it was a mean move, but I could have said worse, so much worse. But I'm not the kind of person to lie to make someone feel better. I'm generally very vocal about my thoughts, but that was my own weird way of sparing feelings. I don't know. I believe karma comes around, and I know she's feeling that way right now. Things will run its course, and I don't need to rub salt in it. Yep. You could have said worse. You could have said no. You could have said, I'll never forgive you. You could have said all kinds of stuff. But sometimes it's like, hey, I don't know. And you don't need to lie. That generally just makes things worse. So I think that you did the right thing. Because you sometimes we don't, sometimes we don't know if we're going to be able to forgive somebody. But here's the thing, and this goes for both of you. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean you have to go be their best friend. You don't have to reconcile things. Like I said, forgiveness is kind of an inside job. It's kind of that thing. It's like me setting myself free. If I realize somebody's toxic, I'm not going to go out of my way to be their best friend. Right? So, like, if somebody harms me and I forgive them, forgiveness does not come with automatically being their friend. Sometimes it's I'm setting myself free and I'm setting myself free from this person as well and not dealing with them. Now, Steve, I know in your case, you know, when you have a child with somebody, you're not completely free from them. I mean, I was co-parenting today. I had time with one of my sons, and you know, we had to drop off. We had to talk logistical stuff over the summer. There's all kinds of stuff, right? And there's things are a little bit more peaceful now than they were, but it's like they're always in the back of my head is kind of like this. Oh, geez, what's the angle? You know, like just because you forgive someone does not mean you have to trust them. It's not necessarily what that means. Or maybe you do trust them. You trust that they're probably going to say something that hurts you, and so you keep your distance. That's okay too. But yeah, forgiveness doesn't mean you guys run back into each other's arms and you just all happy clappy and everything. That's not what that means. And yeah, things will run its course, and I don't need to rub salt in it. In the brilliant, brilliant movie, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you like that.
What's that?
Didn't mean to interrupt you like that, but
Like what?
nothing. Just continue. Continue with your wise wisdom from Harold and Kumar at White Castle.
Yeah, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. There was a scene in there where there was a guy, and he was in jail for wrongly accused, and he was there basically victim of racism, right? He was just in jail because the cops were racist and whatever, right? And they were like, "How do you?" And he's just sitting in there in jail reading a book, like whatever. He didn't care. They're like, "How are you so calm or whatever?" He's like, I figure the world's gonna work itself out just the way it should. And you know what? That's literally true. The world's gonna work itself out. Things are gonna happen. We're gonna go through stressful times. And if you think this time is stressful, maybe it is. That's okay. You're gonna have more stressful times. Now maybe they won't be this stressful. Hopefully. But you're going to have stressful times. But you've been through stressful times before. And the world works itself out. It really does. I've seen that happen lots of times in my
29 years.
Yeah. That many. So, it's okay. It's going to be all right. But in your guys' situation, yeah, I might recommend a therapist. And yeah, I might recommend some time of self-care, really. Whatever it means to you, whatever self-care means to you. Whether it's taking some time out and reading, or taking a bath, or going for a walk, or going kayaking. I did a lot of kayaking when I was in the healing process. I just love being on the water. Being on the water is healing for me. Being close to water, and I had the opportunity to do that. But I would, if I didn't have kayaks, I would have just gone and sat on a beach, sat at a lake, sat at a river, sat somewhere where there was water, right? But that's one of those things. We talked about time in the previous topic. We talked about time management and all this kind of stuff. I prioritize things in my time. My kids are one of those things, right? Like that goes in my calendar. Another thing, while you're going through a time like this, one of those big priorities that needs to go in your calendar and needs to get worked, things need to get worked around, is self-care. Whether it's, 20 minutes a day, a half an hour a day of just whatever that means for you, shutting out that stuff, taking care of you, and then maybe once a week having kind of like an elongated period. Like there's a reason why we have a rest day every week. Like we're talking scripturally, right? Like all the way back from the Bible. There's a reason why Sundays is day of rest. Well, it used to be Saturday in Jewish culture, right? And then like in modern Christian culture, Sundays is generally considered the Lord's Day, a day to take off of work, a day to not do that. Self-care and praising God and taking those times to just not have all that other stuff be a part of you. But if you can take those moments of self-care, that needs to be a priority, especially when you're going through stuff like this. So, I don't know. Now I've talked forever, and Joe, do you have anything
we
else?
we like to talk forever, guys. In case you hadn't figured it out.
We
No, I
do.
don't.
There's a reason we had this podcast, right?
Yeah, there was a reason for that.
Because we like to talk.
We do enjoy talking. But no, I don't think I have anything else to add, and I don't think there's anything else truly that we can really do for you, in terms of here, right? Like
Right.
you're gonna use another scriptural reference, but there's one time in the entire creation story, God says something isn't good, and it's he looks at man, sees that he's alone, and says that that's not good, and so. Um, I don't think it's bad for you to take time in solitude to like think about things and deal with things in your own head. But the reason that a therapist is good help for you, the reason that you should pursue your friends
Mm-hmm.
and get with them, things, it's tough. You're not supposed to go through life on your own.
Mm-hmm.
If I learned nothing else between being broken up with my wife and with COVID, like, you're not supposed to be alone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not, it's very apparent that that's not the way that you're supposed to take on life. So please don't.
That doesn't mean you have to go get in a romantic relationship.
True. I'm not suggesting that you go find one of those. I'm suggesting that you find a friend or a person that you can count on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Find somebody that you can trust.
Mhm. That happens to be a romantic partner, so be it. But that's not necessarily what you need to go out and look for.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave
I
that one
tell,
alone.
oh my, how many students I have to tell, and I was like, don't date until college. And I'm looking at two kids who are actively dating, and they're like, what? Like, yep, don't date till college.
Don't
Like,
date
m-
until
m-
you die.
mature up a lot before you engage in these. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when they break up, it's like, don't say I told you so. Don't say I told you so. Don't say I told you so. Oh, it's weird.
I don't know that word,
I
cats.
don't know that word. What's that arrow ace?
A rorache. A roach? Slay
Slay
a
a
roach.
roach. Let's go. Kill that roach.
Hey, el rocho. Oh, aromantic, asexual. Aro ace. Yes. Hey.
I'm learning so many words that I didn't expect to learn here today.
I don't
Joe.
necessarily know if I'm ace, but I'm definitely aro for sure. Sorry,
That's
Joe.
that's concerning.
Hey, the species has to propagate itself somehow, right? So and I'm not opposed to anybody else doing this stuff. I just don't want it around me.
What?
Y'all can have your romantic lives. Just don't do it in front of me.
Yeah, but you just said never mind.
Well, okay. So I'm not going out. All right. Maybe we ought to just leave it alone.
Yeah, we're just gonna let that die. We're gonna let that die right there. See, this is that thing when knowing when to talk, you can just stop talking. It's great.
That's
You know
true.
how many students I tell that to? I'm like, what? They're like, you're making this so hard for me. I'm like, no, I'm not. Just shut up. It's so easy. You
Yeah, all you
close
got
your
to do is
mouth
just stop talking.
and don't move it, and amazing things happen. It's great. It's actually less work.
But I really got this thing I need to say, and I'm going to feel all bunched up if I don't say it. I know.
But yeah, maybe we maybe we leave it there. I don't think we'll get to Noah's. You can save that for
We
next
already
time. You and Ryan can talk about that.
we already did Noah's. We just like just do it.
What?
Just do it. Just become Catholic.
I don't want to fight Joe on his show today.
Hey, it's your show too today, man. But yeah, you are right. We are kind of out of time.
Do it. Fight Joe or do the.
You know what's funny?
I will. Yeah.
I will say this: the church where I became a Catholic, the priest that was there at the time is no longer there, right? And he retired. But the new priest that's at that church, like I graduated with his sister. Like she was in the same class as me, in the same grade at the same school. And I was like, hey, "What's your name?" He's like, "So and so." I'm like, "Do you know this girl?" He's like, "Yeah, she's my sister." And I'm like, "No way." And I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, "I don't remember them being Catholic." And they weren't. They were Baptist. And now this dude's a priest. Catholic priest. And I remember talking to my mom about that, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when that happened. That was like, because it's a small town, you know. It's like that caused like major, massive upheaval in their family, like massive. Because I think from what I can tell, I think Baptists are generally tend to be a little more anti-Catholic than other Protestant churches, from what I can see. So it causes a big stir. Religion can cause drama.
You can. I think the reasoning behind that is most Baptists would say that the Catholic emphasis on works is negating the grace of God,
Oh, I
and
can
so
see that.
then you wouldn't be saved in their viewpoint because you're rejecting God's grace by.
Right. Yeah, and a Catholic would respond, "Well, it's not either or. It's not either faith or works. It's
I'm not making the
both
argument,
and."
Joe. I'm just telling you why they think that.
Yeah, I know. I know. I had some great conversations, debates, friendly ones with a Baptist minister. He knew I was Catholic, and we were talking. We just sat down for lunch and we'd banter back and forth. At the end of the day, we still love each other. We're still friends, all that kind of stuff. And we still went to Taekwondo together, and we still sparred with each other and kicked
They
each
just say
other
we're
in the
lunch
head.
hard.
And
Oh,
that was great. But yeah, we've had
no,
some really good conversations.
no, your topic would be better for like a theology Thursday. Type,
Yeah, but that show already exists.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
We can't call it Theology Thursday.
into what are they gonna do? Sue us?
Yeah,
That would be bad theology.
it would. And if anybody wants to sue us, good luck.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna get, man? Joe's our accountant. He knows. Hey, you want to sue us? Go for it, man. Can't get blood from a stone. Like,
He's
fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. In this instance, right? It's not like none of our family is like after Noah. That's for sure.
Oh wait, it's Noah.
What?
You name dropped.
What do you mean? It's been fairly obvious the
Oh, what? I
entire
thought
time.
it might be you.
No, no, no. I'm never gonna be Catholic, Joe.
Never
I
say
I
never. I'll
I
tell
I
you what.
read
You get
I
to
read
heaven.
Catholic doctrine.
You die. You get to heaven. You will be Catholic.
That's not. You can't use the word Catholic with the other meaning of the word Catholic.
No, because then you'll have full understanding. I will say that, there's one thing. I'm not going to get into this. This is a big, huge, detailed thing. I will say this, Noah and Joe and anybody. We call ourselves Christians. I mean, Catholics are Christians. Anybody who says a Catholic is not a Christian, they don't understand. Catholics are Christians. it it's worth looking into, knowing that it's the one church founded by the man himself, Jesus Christ. It's worth giving a fair shake to. Mamma mia.
Oh, okay.
It's worth at least digging into the history a little bit. But yeah. We'll see.
Joe and I will have to argue off stream another day. It'll be great. Or on stream another day. It'll be great.
We should have an
We
argument.
should.
It the spaghetti.
Yeah, I mean, Joe just he can't deal with his wrong opinions. Like waffles are better than pancakes. Eventually,
Hey,
he will come around
that's
to
not wrong
the one
opinion though. That's
the one
correct.
true breakfast
I will
food.
say that's a correct opinion.
Uh,
I would love to have crispy bacon
uh,
and waffles and squeezed cheese and fried chicken.
okay, well, everyone loves fried chicken. That's an easy one.
Yeah, man, fried chicken. We got this place in Lansing called Crack Chicken.
Ooh,
It's real
that
good,
sounds
man.
criminally good.
It's addictively good. It's crack chicken, man. But all right, well, that we're basically out of time. Oh, my dad enjoys talking about Catholic history. Probably not for the reasons average Catholics would approve of. Why? Because of all their bad stuff that they did throughout history. Oh, there's been plenty of bad Catholics throughout history. I'm not going to shy away from that one bit. That doesn't mean Catholicism is wrong. That just means those people were wrong. But anyway, all right. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was good. It was good to yeah, 31 minutes after the end time, we're out of time.
But we started like 18 minutes after the start time. Right?
We're still past, but it doesn't even matter. We're glad to have hung out with you, and thanks for bringing in your topics. They were definitely worthy of discussion. They're probably worthy of more discussion than we gave them. If we're gonna be honest, I think all of these are very real, very difficult things to deal with. So thank you for sitting through with us. Go ahead and listen back through if you're dealing with problems of forgiveness, problems of just planning your life. There's definitely the advice doesn't get worse when you listen to it the second time. I promise.
Mm.
Um, so definitely make sure that you do that. But thanks for stopping in. Thanks for letting me come on your show, Joe. And
Man, thanks for being here.
yeah,
I was just super. I was like, Ryan's gonna be gone. I'm like, man, this is a great opportunity to have a Joe show again. Like this. Yes.
Joe show. Sorry, James.
Yeah, James. I'm jealous though. You got to go to the Vatican. One day maybe I'll get to go there. Although then I'd have to fly and leave the country. Although I do hope to go to Europe someday. I have a lot of friends in Europe that I'd like to visit. But yes. Again, thank you. Go to don'tworrywednesday.com. Thank you, Joe, for being here again. Man, you're awesome. I really enjoyed doing shows with you. And yep, read what Katz is saying in the chat. Go buy some merch. It'll be interesting to see where the prints come from now that Ryan's flying back from Australia. They're not going to ship from Australia while he's here. I bet you they'll ship from the United States.
Do it. Buy them now.
Yeah. Go buy stuff. Make me have more work to do because I pack them up and ship them. give me more to do.
Give him work.
Yeah. All right. You guys are awesome. We will see you next time. Actually, I won't, but Ryan will be here next week with a guest.
Ryan and a guest.
Ryan and not me.
Ryan and not Joe.
Yep. So it'll be a great show. So anyway, you guys have fun. We'll see you next time on Don't Worry Wednesday. Go to don'tworrywednesday.com, and we love you. We'll see you later.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Boy.